Hey guys, today we're going to discuss foreign national financing so that people that don't reside and are not citizens of the US, how they could finance property in the US. So what doesn't matter what country you're from, you can buy a property in the United States with foreign national financing. My name is Milton, and I'm the broker of Frank and Realty Consultants and the team lead at Milton and Associates. And today, I'm going to bring on my associate, Frank Hernandez from Home Lenders Mortgage. Frank has been in the business for 29 years, and he's helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people and foreigners finance property in the U.S. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce to you Frank Hernandez of Home Lenders Mortgage, LLC. Frank, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Milton. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Frank Hernandez. I am a mortgage broker located here in South Florida, near you. Been in business for 29, almost 30 years, helping foreigners, investors, all kinds of people obtain homes here in the South Florida area.
Nice. Well, today, that's exactly why I brought you here. I want you to explain to us how a foreign national buyer could obtain financing in the United States. Where I want to discuss things like what's the down payment requirement, what are the paperwork requirements, who are the team players that they need on their team in order to achieve this. So, Frank, let's just say I'm a foreign national buyer from Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Europe, Canada. How can I finance property in the United States for a second home and then maybe for an investment?
Sure, Milton. I think you kind of hit it. That's the big market that we've been seeing coming through, all those countries you've mentioned, and obviously others as well. But we're doing tons of foreign national financing right now. 25, 30, 35% down. I mean, it's a pretty good opportunity for people to come and buy something out here. The market's hot and financing is readily available for everyone.
Now, what was the down payment requirement for that?
We've got different options, but we can start as low as 25% down. I think the traditional investor, foreign national business that you'll find out there is probably 30, 35, but we do have financing from 25% down.
Okay. Does this vary for the type of property that they want to buy? Let's say, is it different for a single family home, a condominium, or a multifamily? Or what are the different requirements there then?
If you start looking into multifamily units, you may be required to go 30 or 35% down. But a single family home, whether it's a condo, a townhome, or an actual single family itself, you can do with as little as 25% down, and that's across the board.
So a single family home and a condominium, they're treated the same in foreign national financing?
They are, yes.
Because I know in the regular financing for Americans, they are treated a little bit differently.
Requirements for condos, but for the foreign national stuff, we're kind of going in understanding that it's not going to be a traditional type of financing option, and we have non-traditional type of financing for those transactions, and they do require 25% down as a bare minimum.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. Well, tell me, what kind of documentation would a foreign national need to have? Like, for example, do they need to have a bank account in the United States? Or can they have their money in their country predominantly, and then we kind of figure that out? Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So surprisingly, not much. Financing for investors are sometimes, particularly foreign nationals, but sometimes a little easier than just financing for a local here in the States that's looking to buy. We don't need too much. We're not looking for a major credit history or anything like that. We understand that for the most part, they probably have zero credit been here before and maybe have already established, but it's always easy to deal with when they don't versus when they do. As far as paperwork, passports, visas, bank accounts, and I'll answer your question about the bank accounts, but bank accounts showing that you have the funds to buy, showing that you have a business or you make X amount of money if that's necessary. Not all foreign national loans require that. And then a bank letter, a bank reference letter from your bank account showing that you're in good standing with them. And to be honest, there's really not much more to it than that.
Now, question for you about those bank account statements. If I'm in South America, obviously they're going to be in Spanish. If I'm in Germany, they're going to be in German. Do these need to be translated?
First of all, the account should be an American account. So if you don't have one, you're going to have one open here in the States. That may require you transferring funds. When you transfer funds, you're going to have to show the statements from the other country, wherever it is, like you said, Germany or Mexico, wherever it is. If they are in a foreign language, we do have translation services that they charge per page, whatever it is they charge, they would have to be translated. Yes.
Okay. And
that goes for any CPA letter, any kind of letter documentation that you provide that's not in U.S. language. That stuff would, yes, have to be translated.
another question, because I have a lot of clients ask me this. Since a foreigner buying property in the United States, let's say upon sale of their property, they would be subject to FERPTA tax withholding. But can they purchase this property in the name of a Florida LLC that they own to avoid the FERPTA tax withholding upon sale? And does that change anything with the mortgage?
And so most of my transactions for foreign nationals are investor deals. And I would say 90% of my investor deals are closed in corporations. Corporation doesn't even have to be established. It could be something that we can open during the process. And then you would title of that new corporation, in that new corporation's name. So yeah, I think most of my business, 90% of my foreign national stuff is being taken in some sort of corporation.
Is it required to do it in a corporation, or can they do it in their personal name?
And so if you're doing the property as an investment or rental, then more than likely you would have to open some sort of LLC or corporation to close in, yes.
Okay. If it's an investment, it has to be an LLC. All right. So for my foreign nationals that are listening, it is very important to avoid FERPTA tax withholding upon your sale that you open the Florida LLC first before the purchase, so that you can close in the name of that LLC. Because if you were to purchase it in your name and then transfer it to an LLC, you're still subject to the FERPTA tax withholding. This is a conversation better suited for a CPA, but that is something that I know to be true, right?
That's correct. And not only that, if you do a title transfer, you're going to be subject to additional title transfer taxes and recording fees as well.
It's really important then to have the right team, so to avoid all these extra fees and potential tax implications. So Frank, who does the foreign national buyer have to have on his team? Obviously a realtor, a mortgage banker, who else?
Absolutely. And not much else, Milton, besides your CPA in your country. It doesn't have to be somebody here. It could be your CPA in your country or whoever does your taxes out there. So we would probably need some sort of documentation, or at least a letter from that person. And really the only other person that you might need is your banker in your country. They may need to sort of reference letter, a letter of good standing saying you have an account with them for X amount of years and you have X amount of money and you're in good standing with them. That's really it.
Well, let me ask you this now. If you own your own business, or if you work for a business, does that change the requirements that you have to provide?
So depending on how we're doing the transaction, like I said earlier, most of our deals are investor deals. So in the case of an investor deal, we don't really care how much money they make. We're not even asking. The CPA letter is really just to say that they have a job. Really, that's about it. Plan on moving here, with a job. Maybe you work for a multinational corporation and they're transferring you. Yeah, we are going to use pay stubs and stuff like that, but not really any CPA information, just proof of the job. Again, pay stubs or a letter from the employer. If you're using it for a second home as well, then yeah, that's where the CPA comes in a little bit more, because you have a mortgage or rent where you currently live. You're going to have another mortgage here because you're buying as well. You need to be able to show that you make sufficient income to pay for both. So a CPA letter would be important. If you're self-employed, then the CPA letter would be just as easy as Mr. Smith has a business here in England and he makes X amount of money per year. And he's been in business for X amount of years. And that's it. It's really nothing more than that.
That seems pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. Let me see. So I have a lot of clients that purchased property here in cash because they didn't really know they could get financed, or maybe they didn't really trust the whole system. Can they do a cash out refinance, or is that out of the question?
No, they can certainly do it. They're probably not going to get what they put in. If they put in 100% of the price, they may only get 50 to 60% back, but at least they can get some of it back and get some working capital to continue to do more deals.
Does that change if it's in the name of a corporation as opposed into their own personal name? Can you still do a cash out refinance if I already purchased in cash a property under the name of an LLC?
No, it's not going to change. The foreign national program is kind of cut and dry. Cash out is X amount of money and that's it. It doesn't matter if it's LLC or if it's an individual's name.
Okay.
50, maybe 60%, depending on what kind of terms you might be willing to take. The higher you go, the higher the rate and things of that nature.
Talking about the rate, what would an interest rate look like? And I know that if you quote a rate today, that's not something that's necessarily going to age well. So could we say it as a point or 2 points off of the prevailing rate as some kind of average? Let's just say, if I get a 3% interest rate as a American resident, what would that interest rate look like for a foreign national?
I think it's fair to say that you're probably going to be around, depending on the situation. And when I say depending on the situation, I mean the down payment, the type of property. The type of property also affects your interest rate as well. But I think a 2-point swing is probably a fair gauge to kind of go with. If conventional loans are, then you can expect to be a foreign national to be starting around the 5% range. Yeah. If you're putting less down, then you can see that rate go as high as 6 or 6.5. If you're only looking to put 25% down, then you're going to see a much higher rate. But if you can do 25 to 30, 35%, you'll get the better rates.
Okay. That's not too bad. Honestly, those interest rates are pretty low compared to what interest rates were in the 80s. And that's the exact same interest rate that I received back in 2005. So not bad based on today's rates. But even a 2-point swing, better than nothing. Especially if you don't want to have to buy cash, and if you want to spread your ability to buy more than one property. Now, about that, can I buy 2, 3? Is there a max of how many foreign national loans I can have if I was a foreign national?
I mean, there might be a cap per lender. Lenders don't really like to finance somebody that has more than 10 properties financed. You can own 10 properties. But once they start getting nervous when you see more than 10 properties financed. So you can get loans up to like 10 properties. You can own more than that, but when you have more than 10 loans, banks really start to get nervous.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. Are there any countries that do not qualify, or people from specific countries that do not qualify for foreign national financing? Like maybe, Venezuela, Libya, I don't know. Tell me.
There's some countries for obvious reasons, terrorism and stuff like that are on the government's do not play list, if you will. And banks obviously have to conform to that. Without naming any specifics, just thinking of situations that are going on in countries like Afghanistan and, like you said, Libya and stuff like that.
They're at war.
Yeah, for the obvious reasons, no, they're not going to be able to get financed. But Venezuela, while historically has been a problem, we do have some lending options for them. And the reason why they've had problems historically is because of the financial situations going on there. But I think Argentina's had problems. Spain has had some problems also. But we're able to get financing for them as well. They may need to put a little bit more money down, but we can get financing for them.
Okay. So if you're a higher risk client, you put a little bit more money down and you kind of even the playing field. Yeah,
35%, versus 25%, but we can still get a deal done for you.
Okay, so let's just say I'm a foreign national from Colombia, but I have my money in Panama, and I want to purchase a property in Miami with foreign national financing. Can I do that? Does that change?
Yeah, unless you're hiding money in a Swiss account, I don't think that there's any problem as long as you can document it. It doesn't really matter whether it's in, the Bahamas or something like that. As long as you can document where the money's coming from via bank statements or some sort of maybe bank letter, yeah, we can certainly use that anywhere as long as you can show it.
Okay. That's fantastic. That sounds really good. Well, So Frank, I'm going to switch to Spanish for a second.
Okay. One thing about the bank account, if I didn't mention it earlier, the bank account does need to be you do have to, at some point, you will have to have a U.S. bank account. Okay, whether it's transferring funds or the account's already been established here, at some point you will have to have a U.S. account. The closing must occur with funds from the U.S. account. And if there's payments, and obviously there will be, the payments will be automatically drawn every month from the U.S. account. That's basically the reason why they require the U.S.
So one of the loan conditions is has to have a U.S. bank account, or at least transfer the money from your country to the U.S. bank account, and then your mortgage payments have to be auto-paid through that American bank account.
Exactly right.
Okay, fair enough. Yep. Well, we're going to switch over to Spanish for a second. So, para los latinos, por favor, Frank, dime exactamente cuáles son las condiciones para comprar una propiedad en los Estados Unidos.
Bueno, buena suerte para nuestros hispanos que están ahí comprando o queriendo comprar. El proceso lo tenemos para todo el mundo. Siendo de México, Venezuela, Colombia, donde sea, donde usted venga, tenemos opciones para ustedes. Las opciones y los requisitos, por decir, realmente son fáciles, hasta más fácil de comparar a un americano. Aquí lo que se necesita es el visa, el pasaporte, la plata. Necesitas la plata y tienes que demostrar de dónde viene la plata. Tal vez una carta de un contador que te maneja la cuenta en su país y una carta de referencia de su banco. Y realmente fuera de eso, muy pocas cosas que se necesitan. El proceso lo tratamos de hacer bien simple. Claro que el banco te va a pedir un buen inicio, ya no es el 5 o el 10%, sino desde un 25 a un 35% down. Se necesita más plata, pero el proceso va a ser más fácil y cerramos en un tiempo, en un periodo relativamente cómodo, 30, 45 días, no creo que pase de ahí.
Ok. Y tiene que tener una cuenta bancaria en los Estados Unidos, es parte del proceso.
Ese es uno de los pocos requisitos. Aunque el dinero venga de su país, tienes que transferirlo a una cuenta americana, ¿ok? Porque el banco, dos razones, la plata tiene que estar aquí, simple, punto. Pero número dos, cuando se hace el cierre, los pagos mensuales van a ser transferidos directamente de la cuenta americana. Es un requerimiento del banco. Lo tienes que tener, tienes que abrir la cuenta, aunque no lo tengas, puedes hacerlo hoy o mañana. Y si hay que pasar dinero de su país en México, en Venezuela, lo que sea, transfieres la plata, pero tienes que demostrar de dónde viene la plata. No puedes ir al banco mañana y depositar $100,000 en efectivo.
En una maleta. Tiene que ser
Claro.
de transferencia de banco a banco.
Como digo, yo no lo puedes tener bajo el colchón. Tienes que demostrar de dónde viene la plata.
Perfecto, perfecto. Pero me parece que es un proceso bien simple, bien fácil para lograr. Y el proceso no cambia tanto para si es una casa, un condominio o un como edificio de 4 familias, digamos. Eso no cambia mucho, lo tratan igual.
No, el proceso es básicamente lo mismo, tal vez con esas propiedades que son multiunidades, 2, 3 y 4 unidades en un solo edificio, tal vez se pide un poquito más de down, de inicial, pero el proceso es el mismo.
¿Y el interés va a ser en cuánto más o menos?
Los intereses varían dependiendo del caso, depende de la situación, depende del precio, pero podemos considerar más o menos de un 5 para arriba, no un 5 para abajo, pero de un 5 para arriba dependiendo del caso del cliente.
Y eso será como 2% más de lo que un residente americano puede obtener, más o menos.
Aproximadamente sí.
Ok, porque yo sé si nosotros hablamos de intereses, eso puede cambiar mañana, pero para darle un averaje. Ok, perfecto, perfecto. Bueno, me suena muy bien, honestamente, es un proceso bien simple. So, Frank, back to English, tell me exactly how can people contact you if they have questions? Do you have a direct line?
Sure, easily. I always like to give out my cell phone because I'm always available. The number's up top or it'll be down below when this airs. But I would say call me directly on my cell phone. You can call me on the phone or with that same number through WhatsApp. And that number is 954-275-1655.
Fantastic. And we're going to make sure to have all the information below and included in the video. Hablamos español and we all speak English. We're happy to help you all. No tienen que hablar inglés para obtener esta hipoteca. Nosotros le ayudamos, le aseguramos todo. Okay, so thank you very much, Frank, for your time today. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. We're going to help a lot of people here. I'm going to make sure that we spread the word.
We're available to you and to anyone who might need some assistance. Feel free to give me a ring.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Frank. You have a great day.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.